Well, let's get into this today. Hopefully you've got your notes, your Bible, borrow some mascara, whatever you need. You're going to want to write some stuff down. All right? Today we're going to talk about calling. We're going to talk about purpose. When you leave here today, if your fire is not stoked, your stoker is broke. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to get fired back up out of what we have made just a mundane life and realize God has a purpose. He has a calling. He has a plan for your life. Great show, TV show, one of the most famous TV shows of all time, had no plot. What is it? Seinfeld. They say the reason that most people loved the show is because they related to it. Because they were living plotless existences. Because they realized, yeah, that just kind of looks like me, and they connected with that. I'm going to change that today. We're going to talk about calling today. Your first fill in there is calling. This is the definition we have for it. Your customized life purpose that God has ordained and equipped you for in order to accomplish your greatest glory. In order to accomplish His greatest glory and the maximum expansion of your kingdom. No, His kingdom. Every single one of us here is different. And I want to talk through that a little bit. But Proverbs 29:18 says this: where there is no revelation, in other words, where there is no calling, where there is no passion, where there is no meaning, where there is not something that drives you, where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint. Number one here is your calling is a created purpose. There is a created purpose, and you need to hear something. You were not created for fun. You were created for a purpose. Sometimes that purpose is fun. Sometimes it's work. But you were not created just for fun. Let's go back to the beginning. Genesis 1, verse 14. Then God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. Then God made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, which we call, some of you are with me, wake up, your neighbor's not with us. And the lesser night to rule the night, we call the good. He made the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth and to rule over the day and over the night and to divide the light from the darkness. I was rereading the creation story this week. And it said, in the beginning, it was formless and void. In other words, it had no meaning. It had no focus. It had no purpose. It had not been molded to have. And God begins to put purpose. He says, I'm going to put these stars up here, and they're going to talk about seasons. And I'm going to put the sun up here, and that's going to bring warmth. And then you can go lay on the beach and get sun cancer, right? No, that's not what he thought. But he put purpose to each of these things. The moon, so that you can, it's been a beautiful moon the last few nights, right? And thank God for that great creation. Can I say this? Most of us spend a lot of time making a living, but not a lot of time making a life. Most of us have the same old disease. You know what that is? Get up in the morning out of that same old bed, walk in the kitchen, have that same old coffee. She walks in, that's that same old wife. She makes that same old breakfast, sit on that same old stool at the counter in the same old kitchen. Get in that same old car, go to the same old cubicle, work with those same old pain in the butt people at work. Come back and get in that same old bed and get up and do the same old thing tomorrow. No purpose. No meaning. And so what do? We cast off restraint. Remember what we said in the beginning? We work for the weekend. Because if I do that, if I just survive the same old and get to Friday night, well, then I can just go crazy and have fun. Without revelation, you cast off restraint. The problem is there's no purpose to the week. Everybody stand up. Come on, stand up on your feet. Turn around and look at your chair. Stand up, turn around, look at your chair. Out loud, I want you to ask your chair, chair, what is your purpose? What did it say? If it talked to you, we have counseling available in the back. Sit down. It said nothing. This is why, listen to me, because your chair cannot tell you what its purpose is. It is the manufacturer that tells you what the purpose of the chair is. It is the Creator that tells you what is the purpose of the created. And so it is only with you and I, through the Creator, that we can know why we're created and our design in the first place. The created thing cannot tell you what its purpose is until the Creator tells the created thing what it is to do. If you feel like you missed your calling, I am declaring today a divine recall. I don't care if you're 9 or you're 90. The reality is, if you're still breathing and walking around on this planet, there is still a design and a purpose, and it has nothing to do with chronology. It has nothing to do with your age. It has nothing to do with whether you're retired or whether you're in school. It has everything to do with God still has something for you to do in this place at this time. Number 3, your calling is a comprehensive purpose. It's a comprehensive purpose. It's tied to everything you do, work, family, whatever. Many people live an independent way of life. Me, myself, and I, they just want to do your thing. Our culture actually kind of teaches us to do that. Do your individual thing. Don't mess with your neighbors. You don't even have to know their names. Just don't go on their property, and if they don't go on your property, as long as their dog doesn't come over and chew up your plants. But you need to understand something. Our design is comprehensive. Our design is like, you ever done a puzzle? Anybody ever do puzzles? I used to do puzzles with my grandmother. You ever do puzzles with your grandmother? You know, and it was like this race to see who could find the edges first, right? Because you got to do the edges first, right? Because the edges are more important pieces. How funny is that we do that? Some of the puzzle pieces, some of the people, we think their puzzle piece is more important. Can I say something to you? Because I stand on a stage 3 feet above talking today, does not mean my puzzle piece is any more important than yours. Flipping burgers at McDonald's and being a witness. Because I need your piece to hook up with my piece, to hook up with Michael's piece, to hook up with George's piece, so that we start to get a bigger picture of what it is that God is wanting to do. You know what's even worse? When you get to the end of the puzzle and one piece is missing. We are not complete unless you know your calling and you connect in with us. And you connect in with the body of Christ. And we work together to see the bigger picture of what it is that God is directing us to do. I want to give you 6 things as we begin to close out on what calling answers. Number 1, calling answers the issue of fulfillment. The issue of fulfillment. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. See, here's what happens is, if we don't know calling, then we have something called artificial fulfillment. We got to make stuff up, right? We got to go shopping to make us feel better. We got to eat something to make us feel better. We got to take a drug to make us feel better. We got to look at some pornography to make us feel better. We've got all kinds of things that we do that are artificial fulfillment. Why? Because there's this hole inside of us. There's this missing piece of meaning, of purpose. What did I say at the beginning? If they have no revelation or purpose and meaning, they cast off restraint because I feel fulfilled. Number 2, it answers the issue of direction. Therefore, I do not run like a man aimlessly. See, the calling gives us direction. Calling gives us an understanding of the direction. So when we get to that fork in the road and the decision that we have to make, then we go, that doesn't take me towards my calling. That does. Right? It gives me direction. Let me ask you this question. Are the things you're doing tied to a destination? It's a great question for you to sit down with your spouse or to sit down individually by yourself and ask yourself, are the things I'm doing tied to a destination? Number 3, calling solves the issue of stability. Okay? How many people just get so tired of drama? Okay? Can I just be honest with you? The people who talk about other people's drama the most are the most drama queens. That's the truth. It makes them feel better about themselves to talk about everybody else's drama. But this is what we're talking about, stability. Right? Romans 8:35. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword or barbed wire and mud? Nothing can separate us. When we have calling, when we have something to live for bigger than ourselves, when life does its thing, anybody ever feel like this in life? You got one day it's just kicking, and then Shikra lets go, right? And you go down the big thing. But life is like that. Some of you are going to get sideswiped this week. Some of you are going to get blessed this week. Life happens. Stuff comes at us. But when we have calling, it brings stability to us. We don't have to ride the roller coaster. We can say, okay, God, I'm going to deal with this. Right? I'm going to be stable. Why? Because I got a bigger calling. I got something bigger than me. Something that matters more than this particular situation at this moment. Number 4, it answers the issue of significance. You go back to Psalm 139. In verse 16, your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed. I love that. And in your book, they were all written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. You ever feel insignificant? You ever feel like it doesn't matter? You've lost the idea of calling. You've lost the idea of something bigger than yourself, something more. That's why we're pushing and we say, come, get plugged in at the Father's house. Get into a life group. Get into relationship. Why? Because we need your puzzle piece. Calling answers the issue of significance. It also, number 5, answers the issue of provision. I almost stepped on some toes with this one. Romans 8:26. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our weakness, for we do not know what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. In other words, when you don't even know how to pray, you ever been there? You're in that place of just like, I don't even know what to say, God. I'm so mad. I'm so hurt. I'm so frustrated. Whatever. Maybe I'm so happy. I don't even know what to say. The Spirit says, I'll pray for you. God says, I got your back. I have provision for the things I have called you to do. Here's the problem. God is not obligated to give you provision for your idea of calling. Some of us today are having problems in our provisions because we're not in God's calling. That's where I said I'm going to step on your toes a little bit. But see, God has obligated himself to give provision for his calling for your life. This is why it's so critical. This is why we want you to dive into this series and not miss a Sunday and dive into this book. Because you've got to seek what it is that God's called you to do. Number 6. Calling deals with the issue of time. Can I tell you this? You are not given time to have fun. You are not given time to do what you want to do. You are given time to fulfill your purpose. See, Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there's a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Ephesians 5:15-6, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. How about you? What did God design you to do? Aren't you just a little bit curious? My assignment today is to get you fired up. That you would dig in and understand. I can't tell you your calling. I can't. And there's not a man or a woman on this planet that can tell you your calling. Why? Because I ain't the manufacturer. And neither are they. Your mama can't tell you your calling. The manufacturer has to tell you what you are called to do. Now, we got a little help for you. For those of you who have your books, and if you don't have one, they're in the back. They're $1. But in this book, on page 4, there's a place at the bottom where it says 8 things to consider in identifying my purpose. It's just a little tool here. Just some questions. I can't tell you what your purpose is. God has to tell you what your purpose is. But here's some questions. And like I said, I don't care. Many of you here today are going, I'm retired, or, I'm past my prime, or this and that, or, I've made too many mistakes. And you need to understand today is recall day. I don't care what the enemy is telling you to tell you about you. You got to figure out who you are. Because then you will like you. Because you were designed with a purpose and a plan, and today is recall day. Today is the time for you to realize that he has called you to a place. Joel 2:25 says this, so I will restore to you the years that the swarming locusts have eaten. I believe that's a promise for us this morning from God. That he says to you, I don't care if you're 9 or 90, I will restore the years. I will restore you back. I am a God that transcends time. I don't need some light to be able to see. I transcend darkness. I have it all under control. It doesn't matter. Stop giving me excuses. There is no excuse. I have a design and a purpose and a plan. Seek it out. And you will see great, great things happen.